Hello, everybody. Welcome to our very first 3x3 series. You've got me, Robyn Pitman, and Silvia Bartolic today. Hi, Silvia. How are you doing?
Hi, Robyn. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We've got our coffees. We are ready today to talk about time, balance, management. We're drawing on the questions that were submitted from the summer. And so we have three really great questions. And so, how this 3x3 will work today is Sylvia and I will go through each question and we will give you three different ways to try and approach these challenges or these things that have come up for our colleagues. And let's see how it goes. Are you ready for the first one, Sylvia?
All right, I'm ready.
Okay. The first one is I'm struggling with working from home and having my kids' partner at home. They constantly interrupt me, and I'm torn between wanting to do something with them and getting my work done. What can I do to create work life balance while I work from home? Um, what do you want to start,
Wow,
Sylvia? Yeah.
I
What?
can so relate to that, and just yeah, because there's so much going on around you. So I guess my first inclination is to just recognize that it's not going to be the same as it was. So your routine from before is not going to work for you now.
Mhm.
Um, So what I've been doing is just really being very flexible in terms of my schedule. I wake up early. I do a little, like, it's very piecemeal. I do a little bit in the morning before things get going. I
Yeah.
have a good chunk of time in the middle of the day because now my son is in school, thank goodness. But it's like 4 hours that I can
Yes.
really get work done. And then I realized that I need to spend some time with him in the afternoon when I pick him up, and then I do a little bit more at night. So it's really just letting go of the old schedule and trying to figure out a new schedule that's gonna work. So that would be my first. That's my first attempt, and also just letting go of the shoulds, right, and just be
Yeah.
realistic with this is what I can actually do right now, and try to plan for. So I do all my email in the dark at night, because I'm co-sleeping, so I'm literally doing it in the dark at night. But that's fine because I don't need a lot of brain power for email. But I spend the time I have, you know, that I'm alone. I try to do the hard stuff during that period. So
Yeah.
that's just my first thoughts. What about you, Robyn? What would you suggest?
Yeah. That's a good one. Kind of, a schedule. In CrossFit, we call it a chipper when you're chipping away at a piece of a workout. So you're chipping away at your schedule. That's great. Um, my suggestion, so number two, how you could deal with this is I like the word recalibrate. So we had this great schedule that worked pre-pandemic. It was meal prepping, doing this, doing that. It does not work during the pandemic, especially when I'm working from home. And so I've every day, I actually do this with my therapy clients too. I encourage them to sit down and talk with their partner, their family, right? And talk about what worked well that day. What worked well in your schedules that day for both of you getting work done, balancing childcare, having me time, right? As well as time with family or partner. Um, and the other conversation to have is what didn't go so well, right? And then I would say if you're having some problems with your schedule, start having this every night because then you're going to focus on what is working well. And from a solution focused perspective, do more of what's working. The stuff that isn't, that's what needs your attention. And so this is the recalibration, which is every day is an opportunity to change that schedule to see does it help or does it harm? Right. And so I actually do that quite a bit with my partner, especially when I find there might be more marking coming in, there's other things to be doing. Right. So I have to recalibrate my schedule. One of the reasons I'm doing that right now is we have a dog walker who takes Finn 1 day a week. There's some days where I actually need him more. So I've been switching days with him to recalibrate. So especially if I have back-to-back meetings and having the dog walker come another day was a recalibration to recognize, well, there's no point in him coming Thursday when he usually comes. I don't need him that day. I actually need him Monday. And so he's been great with my recalibration. And it actually has made a difference in the quality of how focused I am on meetings, how I'm just able to be in the work time. So being able to recalibrate makes a huge difference every day. And so once you're able to figure out like a pattern what's working, then you don't have to talk about every day, but you might want to review it every week. Right. And this is great to have kids involved too about what's working for them. So if you have kids or teens or young adults with you, the recalibration should include anybody who's a part of the schedule, but then your own recalibration too about how you're working your day. So if you keep trying to work for 5-hour blocks and you don't have 5-hour blocks, recalibrate. Does that make sense?
I love this idea of talking, and I guess that would be my next piece is I don't think we should pretend that we don't have these issues. I think that we should tell people that we're working with, especially that, I have to go at 2:30 and pick up my child every day. This is part of what I have to do now. I no longer have after school care. That has gone away. So I now have to do this. I think it's important that we talk about it and don't pretend it's not an issue and it doesn't exist. We shouldn't be punished for having other responsibilities in our life, whether that's dogs, children, spouses, partners, parents, whatever that is. It's part of what's going on with us. So I feel like telling people is really helpful because then they understand why you're missing in action during a specific part of the day. And I feel like, most people are compassionate, can understand, and can make adjustments. As long as you're clear about it. So I've had people meet me, have a 7:00 meeting because that's when I had time and that's when my child is with my husband and I can function at that time, even though it's not ideal as, part of the work day. But with not saying that, people don't know. And so I feel like you just have to really be clear about this is happening. These are my limitations in my schedule.
Yeah.
So I love that idea of talking and recalibrating and maybe you try a new adjustment. I love that.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's the third one is the communication piece. Because the only way this has worked is me talking with the people who are in my life. Like even before we started recording this, Silvia, you did a great job saying, Robyn, I have a meeting at 11. So we got to get this going. Right? But that's you also managing your time. And so I think the other thing too is if I had an experience this summer where I didn't talk to my partner and I was just like I was suffering and struggling with trying to teach term 2 online, working like 60, 80 hours a week for July and August, and feeling really frustrated and resentful that I'm working on stuff. And my partner on the weekend is just sitting around. He gets to play video games and hang out with the dog. Well, that's not his fault. He works 10 to 12 hours a day during the week too. So I had to have this conversation with myself that how I'm feeling is not about what he's doing. It's about what I'm not doing, which I wasn't talking to myself about looking after myself. So on top of the communication is also scheduling, right? And I think one of the things that can help with scheduling is just making sure, do you have time in that day for yourself? And I was telling Silvia about this the other week. The first thing I do every day is I have me time, which actually just sets the day. So I'm off to a good start. So every day from 7 to 8 a.m. is physical activity. I'm at the gym, I'm running. It's about no one else but me. And I find like talking to myself and making sure my needs are met sets me up to take on the rest of the day. Now, not everybody has an hour for themselves. Maybe it's 5 minutes for you, right? Maybe it's whatever you negotiate based on your family dynamics. Maybe it's you leave the house and you walk around the block for 20 minutes or whatever. But I find like having that conversation with myself helped us manage, recalibrate, and talk more about the struggles. Because my partner said that ever since I've been prioritizing 7 to 8 a.m. for me, he said, you fight less with me because I was picking fights. Over stupid stuff. I'm in a better mood. I'm more focused. I'm able to manage my time better because my needs are the first thing I address first thing in the morning. And so it could be for you, maybe it's a shower, 10-minute walk. For me, it's that time between 7 and 8 a.m. Yeah. Do you want to throw anything in there?
I want to, I absolutely can relate to that. And there was, the resentment of why do you get to have fun and I don't get to have fun.
Yes.
It's totally something I could relate to, and just recognizing that it's really not their fault. And it is on you to figure out your own schedule and make some time for yourself. So yeah, I agree. If you don't take care of yourself, you're just going to fall apart and unravel. And I've been there. So I absolutely agree with that suggestion. Whatever that is, whatever me time is, to make sure you have some.
Yeah. And by the way, I'd also just like to give permission that if your me time is hiding in your bedroom watching stuff on Netflix, that's fine too. Some parents I work with as therapists tell me that's all they really want is to have a shower and sit in their bed and watch TV with no children around. So that works too. Why don't we go to question number two? Because all of these relate to balance and time, right? Question number two, I'm finding it hard to concentrate on larger projects with my son and partner around. I can work on small things like email easily, but find it difficult to motivate myself to take on a larger, more thoughtful project. Yeah. Do you want to start that one off, Sylvia?
Yes, again, I can totally relate to this. I think part of it for me, and I don't know if this will resonate, but when I hear them having fun, I'm like, I want to be there too, not sitting in this chair trying to. And so, and just recognizing that, I'll get my chance, and I have to let that go. But yeah, I think for me, it's they lower the expectations. So I'm not going to sit here for an hour in deep concentration, but
Yeah.
maybe I can do the hard thing for 10 minutes. And if I do the hard thing for 10 minutes, actually, I usually find that I get into it and then I'm doing it for longer than 10 minutes. But my expectation for myself is, and I've used a timer just to, make it guilt-free,
Yeah.
just 10 minutes of the hard thing or the thing that's going to be most productive, but takes the deepest amount of thought. And then often I find myself ignoring the alarm and I just keep going because now I'm into it. But it's just getting in there. And so I think that making the expectation really small helps, because it feels so overwhelming if it's like, oh, I have to sit here for 3 hours and write this.
Yeah.
Um, that might happen, but if it's just 10 minutes, it feels very doable. Anything, you can do anything in 10 minutes, right? It's not a big chunk of your life.
Yeah. And maybe to go with that, so the idea like just have a small start with a small goal. Could be 10 minutes for some of us, maybe 20 for others. Like, and I like the 10-minute one because it gives you just enough to see if you can get into it. But I like the idea to go with that one, that start with something easy. Because I think what happens is when we have these big projects, we jump ahead to the hardest part and then we get demotivated really quickly. And then you're like, oh, I'd rather go do something else. So if you start with the easiest part, what it does is it builds this idea of momentum. And I was telling Sylvia about this the other day about getting people to the gym. It's the number one New Year's resolution goal, but there's an 80% failure rate. Most people do not make it to the 30-day mark. And they say like, I'm lazy, I'm not motivated. And it's not that at all. It actually is, you have a pathway in your brain for not going to the gym that is way stronger than going to the gym. So tackling this big project when other people are doing other things and getting motivated is really hard because you've got this other pathway that's taken over during the pandemic, which is your working from home pattern. So if you use kind of like Sylvia's idea, like schedule a small amount of time, I would say pick the smallest thing. So if someone wants to go to the gym or you want to write like a whole section of this like thing, that's too hard. Start with something easy, like just get up at the time that you want to wake up to go to the gym. Just practice that for a week, right? And then the next week, someone might also get up at that time, but then they put their gym clothes on. Still haven't gone to the gym yet, by the way. Then the third week, you get up at that time, put your gym clothes on, get in your car, drive to the gym, but you don't actually go in. So by the fourth week, you've built a habit for getting up at a certain time, putting those clothes off, getting in your car, and now you're going to walk into the door, right to the gym. And that's like this project, right? It may take you a few days or several weeks of chipping away at the easy stuff to build up to the hardest part. So if the hardest part is a big section or you have to complete some really big ideas, just like going to the gym, the hardest part is actually getting into the gym. Do all the easy stuff work first because you're going to have these small successes. And what it is it builds a pathway in your brain to get to the hard stuff. So by the time you get there, that is going to feel a lot easier than if you just try and jump into it on the first day. So that could be one way you could do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And my other thought is, we often think we have to, you know, I guess like the big writing projects would probably be what a lot of people are thinking about here. And we think we have to do this, during the day. But I found that I am a night owl, and I've had to adjust that after having my son. But sometimes that's the best time for me. And
Yeah.
I will get up at this crazy time or, sneak out of the bed. And that's when I can get stuff done because that's my normal rhythm. that's what my body wants to do. It wants to think at 2 a.m. And although that might mess up, how I feel the next day, if that's when I want to do it and that's when I feel inspired, I would just let go of the, oh, well, I should be sleeping. I mean, not saying that you should all disrupt your sleep schedules, but some people are awesome in the morning and some people are awesome at night. And like work on the hard part when you are most, when it sort of fits your rhythm, when you're on.
Yeah.
Like that's when you're doing it. So I am not. So I love to teach in the morning because I know that my best work is in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So that's just me. And of course now I don't have an afternoon because that's when I have to be with my child. So now I push it to the evening and that's fine. That works for me because that's my own natural rhythm of when that happens. So
I'm the same. I've kind of adjusted and changed when I find I would be the most productive, the most focused, engaged, invested, whatever word you want to use. So I'm a morning person. So I like to do certain things between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. And so I actually don't want to check my email first thing in the morning. So I actually don't check it until after 11 because I don't want to start my day dealing with other things. I want to start my day investing in my things that I get excited about. So when I wake up and I get back from the gym and so on, I'm really excited. So I want to do something that I'm excited about. So I like to do that, but then I also might take advantage of my partner gets up earlier than I do. So he might be in bed around 7:30, 8 o'clock. That means I have an hour to 2 hours where if I feel like it and I have to feel like this is what I want to do, I'm still really excited about this thing. I want to finish this sentence, this paragraph. Then I negotiate with myself that I'm going to spend an hour doing that and then like an hour winding down or half an hour. So I like this idea about capitalizing on when you feel like you are the most focused. You feel like this is how you want to spend your time. And then you'd also have to recalibrate when other things pop up. So sometimes I don't always get to do this because we're in reference letter writing time, right? We might have, deadlines for projects or grants and so on. So you might have to adjust your time, but it's something that we can easily do is play around when you notice you get the most done for yourself or you're the most engaged. Yeah. Well, how about question number?
And I think you hit. Yeah, because I was going to say the third point there was not to check email first thing in the morning. So I think we did hit the 3.
I think we had 4 in there, but 3. And I actually, so that's not my original idea. I listened to a podcast by Ben Bergeron. He's a coach for CrossFit athletes, sorry. And I like performance podcasts because they transfer to all areas of your life. And his personal thing is he doesn't check email until after 11 a.m. And he actually will put his devices away at 6 p.m. because one of his values is family time. And so he purposely mutes phones, devices, and stuff. And he actually has an email reminder that goes out to people for automatic replies that says he may take anywhere from 2 to 3 days to reply to an email. He doesn't check email after 5 o'clock because it's time with his family. So he's actually managed people's expectation that they will not get an email response directly from him immediately and what is important to him. And he's actually blocked his time. And I like that. And it took him a long time to shift that. But he said, if family is important to me, I want to show people it is. Because talk is cheap. You have to show it. And that's what he's been doing. So I liked that idea about not checking it till 11. And don't get me wrong, there's this urge to check it.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. And so like today I did break that rule because I forgot to send you the Zoom link for today. But normally I'm not going to look at it till the afternoon. There's nothing that's an emergency that has to be dealt with by email. All emergencies are from the phone or a knock on the door. So that helps remind me like this is not an emergency. Yeah.
And I love the saying that someone else's emergency isn't your emergency.
Exactly.
So those urgent emails, that someone else's panic doesn't necessarily have to destroy your day. It's not your emergency.
Yeah, exactly.
So okay, we should probably do the third question.
Let's do the third one. We're running out of time. Last one, and this is a great one to round out our 3 by 3. I'm struggling with work bleeding over into my house and family life. I feel that work is always there, but I'm never as focused as I should be, and so I'm tempted to keep working or feel guilty when I'm not. Well, do you want to go first?
Man, guilt. That's a hard one. Yeah. So I would say honestly, just the whole time trying to get tenure, I felt guilty. If I was with my family, I felt guilty about not working. If I was working, I felt guilty about not being with my family. So I get the guilt thing, and that I still struggle with that. I feel like I have a room. So I'm fortunate. Not everyone does, right? I have this office. I can close the door. So I try to work in here and again, try to, do pockets of time and
Yeah.
then just be okay with that and recognize that I think we sort of talked about this, that if I don't take time for myself and I don't make time for my family, I'm just going to lose it completely. My health is going to go.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be productive. I'm not going to be useful at all. So I need to just be more realistic. I know that's hard though, because the guilt is really energy draining. So I don't know that I have a really good answer right off the top of my head. So maybe Robyn, you might spur something.
Yeah, I think it's there. It's very present. We work in an environment that is about if you're not working, there's something wrong with you. Which I would say, well, if I'm working all the time, I'm probably going to die and I won't have a life. So I'd rather not do that. Um, but it's true. There's a lot of guilt around it, and one of the ways I try and manage guilt is creating a physical space in your home. So if you have a second or a place to go, that's great. If you don't, I would suggest you have a physical space that is called work. And if you live with other people, I'd suggest you put signs up saying, this is my work area. I am in this area from this time to this time. This is when I take lunch breaks and so on. If you are in a second bedroom like I am, I actually close this door when I'm not in here because this door being closed says I'm not at work, I'm at home. And when I'm at home, I don't do work. So that's actually a great mental divide for me. Because this room used to be like my fun place to read and hang out and do stuff when I had to before the pandemic. This room means work, 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 work. There's no fun in here. And I tried to add my plants to make it more fun. It's still not changing, but it means work. So closing that door is a mental way for me to say, like, I have done what I can today. I've put in my work hours. This door is closed. If I'm going to come back, it's because I've renegotiated that with myself to come back for an hour tonight, but it's closed. That means this is home life. And I think we had talked about this, but I've talked about with clients in therapy, having a schedule on your door so kids know when you're free, right? Or I think you have a system like this. So like,
I do. I have a little bubble, a sticky bubble on my door, and he can read some words at this point, and so he understands do not disturb
yeah,
or come in a smiley face. So I put the faces as well. And it took a while. I will admit it took a while, but he now understands that if that sign is up and the door
yeah,
is closed, that it's not time to come see mom.
yeah,
You got to go through dad. It's, so not to interrupt. It did take a long time, but it was sort of consistent reinforcement, like when that door is closed. And same with my husband, I have to say, like I had to also train him, like when that door is closed and the sign says do not disturb, even if you don't hear anything, because sometimes he thinks, well, you're not on Zoom, so I can come in. I'm like, no,
yeah,
the door is closed for a reason. I'm concentrating.
yeah,
So it did take a while, but that is a working system now. I love your addition of adding sort of a time, like when you're free. I tend to say that verbally, like if they're home, I will say, I will be done at this time. So the door will be closed until 2, and then I will come out and I will spend time with you, or I'll check in with you or something, so that there is some kind of end point where they know they can come in,
yeah.
especially for my son, obviously, because he's young. So that's been helpful. And I also just thought of, I remember my very first mentor coming into this position, said to me that, UBC does not own your life, and just take care of your health. And I remember that now, because I thought, what an odd thing to say, but I can see why she had said that now. Because we do tend to think, well, we need to work, because
Yeah.
we're all hard workers. Like, so we sort of get that vibe off each other, and but there has to be some boundaries, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
important, and not to feel bad about those boundaries.
when I used to work with people who, as a clinician, I still do in a limited capacity, who have zero work life balance, I ask them to pull out their work contract and just remind themselves what's been expected of you. And at no point does any employer say, I want you to sacrifice your personal life, your health, your sleep. I don't want you to eat, or I want you to go the other way, which is to get overweight from not doing anything. Like, there's nothing in there that says that. We create that. We manifest this guilt that if I'm not working, I'm a bad employee. But you know what? You have lots of concrete, like tangible things that say you're a great employee, right? That say you're doing your job. And your contract does not say to do all these things that we do to ourselves. And the nice thing about your contract or your role here is that actually you have freedom, right, to cultivate what your workday looks like and negotiating that with yourself and your partner or your family. And you know, part of the challenge for us too is having a physical space that is different. So for example, some people are turning their walk-in closets to a makeshift office. I've heard a rumor that maybe some people in the neighborhood here who don't have a second bedroom are using their storage locker. um,
Mhm.
because they're trying to separate it, right? And even if you have to get some dividers or a fancy like divider and say this corner of the living room is my office, don't bug me, that could be your mental separation, right? And so maybe like reminding yourself about what is expected of you, you know, and how that fits with your lifestyle, the space you have, but also communicating with your family when you're available for fun. All of those things could help to minimize the guilt, right?
I just wanted to go the other way because I think some of the guilt might be about not having time with your children. And so something that really helped me there, because that's sort of ongoing. You just, and they grow up so fast and you want to spend the time.
Yeah.
But I also then really stepped back and went, okay, well, but what do I want to model? Like what message
Mhm.
do I want him to learn from this? And so I'm trying to model, good work ethic. And I want him to be that when he grows up. So I say things to him like, he doesn't have that much homework. He's in grade 1, but it's like, we need to do the homework first. So I always say, you can have a little bit of a break after school, but then it's like work first and then play. And once you get your work done, then you can play. And if you focus on getting the work done well, but fast, right? So, because,
Yeah. Yeah.
writing a word could take 3 hours if if you let it go that way. So this is something I want him to learn. Like, you need to be efficient, but that doesn't mean sloppy, but then you can have fun. So these are things I'm trying to model. And just also that, you know, um, women work. Like, I'm trying to model that women have careers, and
Yes.
and
Yeah.
what that means. And I try to explain to him the reason I'm doing, all the things you get in life are because I'm working, right?
Yeah.
And so I try to make the connection to something that makes sense to him, right? So I'm like, I can buy you Lego, which he loves, because I'm working. So mommy has to work, right? Like, this is why.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to model good behavior. And so that takes away some of the guilt for me, because I'm thinking, if he never saw me work, what would that really be saying to him?
Yeah.
And so that eases up some of that guilt.
That is such a great point, by the way, that it's if you cultivate kind of healthy work habits where there's a balance between how much you work and break and stuff, it sends that message to your kids. Because if we're working all the time, then we also send them messages about perfection. You don't take breaks, you sacrifice your health, well-being, or family. Where the other side is about whatever I think people are always striving for, is that balance. And this is a perfect time to be teaching those implicit lessons about, everybody works. What does that look like when people work? How do I get things done? Taking breaks is fine, right? Because I think too, our university students are struggling with taking a break because they feel like it doesn't model being productive. And it doesn't matter. We could talk about the literature that shows that if you keep working for consecutive hours with no breaks, you're actually less productive. But it goes out the window because it's that feeling that's pushing the behavior. And so what might be good for people is just to kind of take that step back, and just because you have that feeling doesn't mean you have to entertain it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I think we're out of time, Robyn.
I think so too. Those were some great suggestions. Silvia, thank you for being a part today. And thank you, everybody, for taking the time to take a look at our first 3x3. If you have ideas for a 3x3 you'd like us to do, if you'd like to help us out and participate in a 3x3, please feel free to contact us. And we look forward to seeing you at our next one.